Hi everyone, my name is Amanda, and today I'll be presenting the invention of pottery. Throughout this presentation, I will explain to you the history of when and where pottery was made and developed, what pottery is and how it's created, its uses, past and present, its different techniques, and its benefits and drawbacks to our society today. Ceramics and pottery are interchangeable. This is because the origins of the word pottery comes from the Greek word ceramic. Ceramic means of pottery. Ceramic bisque refers to raw pottery or clay that has been through its initial firing process. Bisque in French means twice baked. This twice baked process includes the firing of the pottery, adding the glazes, and then refiring to the final product. This is a new development since it includes glazes and a second firing process. The earliest ceramic object dates back to 29,000 BC. This ceramic object is Venus, a nude figure located in the Czech Republic at the site Dolní Věstonice. Venus was found by a historian in July 1925. It is only 4 inches tall and was made from porous clay that fired around 1,000 degrees, which is a pretty low temperature. At the site, other figures like lions and mammoths and owls were also discovered. Over 200 other figures with similar characteristics of Venus have been uncovered all over the world. Researchers have found that these figures were created during the last glacial period. Although Venus is the earliest ceramic object to date, she is not the earliest creation of pottery. Before colonization, pottery had many functional uses in daily life. The invention of pottery socialized us through utensils such as cups for drinking and bowls to eat out of. Pots were also able to be heated up, which increased nutritional value in people's diet, which was of high importance back then. Pottery vessels were also handmade and used to store and serve food. Not having the advanced tools and instruments that we have today, pottery was often jagged and scattered with imperfections due to it being handmade. Back then, these flaws did not matter because pottery was used as a functional item instead of a luxury item. These flaws were erased soon after the invention of the potter's wheel, which made creating pottery easier and faster. Before I further explain the potter's wheel, I want to go over what pottery is. Pottery is defined as a fired ceramic ware that contains clay. Clay is a soft and malleable natural material that hardens at high temperatures. Some clays may be more porous than other clays. These clays can be earthenware, porcelain, and stoneware. Earthenware is a type of clay that fires at lower temperatures around 1500 degrees. A paint glaze is needed to seal this clay after firing, or else water will soak through it as it is more porous. Earthenware is typically a red to brownish color and can be dipped in a clear glaze, which is made from a mixture of water and finely pressed glass. This popular clay originated from Middle Eastern to European areas. Stoneware is another type of clay fired around 2000 degrees Fahrenheit and has a stone style throughout the piece naturally. A glaze is not required and the piece does not need to be sealed. Stoneware was created by the Chinese and popularized in Europe after the Renaissance. Porcelain's earliest forms originated from China. It is a refined clay fired around 2400 degrees Fahrenheit and comes out completely white and glazed without adding anything. Around 1600 BC, China had mixed clay with animal bones to create a strong material. This is where fine china comes from. Porcelain now is created from Chinese clay and stones that can be separated into 3 different kinds: hard paste, soft paste, and bone china. Hard paste ingredients include stone and clay. Soft paste ingredients include white sand, salt, and white clay. It is fired at a lower temperature than hard paste porcelain. Bone china has a translucent shine and is made out of animal bone and clay. To be created, the ceramist or potter must follow specific guidelines to ensure a beautiful piece. The process to creating pottery has many different techniques. These techniques are wedging, throwing, and firing. Wedging is when you knead the clay back and forth to reduce air bubbles. Skipping this process can cause explosions in the kilns due to eruption of air bubbles inside of the pottery. This is crucial for the producer as the items in the kiln are likely to break on impact. The next part of this process is throwing. Throwing is creating your wedged clay into a shape. Newer developments have made this process faster by using silicone molds, which skips the potter's wheel. Firing techniques have changed greatly over time. Open firing techniques created the world's original pieces of pottery. This technique was successful as potters were able to manipulate the airflow and heat source conducted to the pottery. Through the development of cooking ovens, ceramists started using big heated ovens around 8000 BC to produce their pieces. Later on, the development of kilns created a controlled heating environment and the best results. There are 3 kinds of kilns: wood, gas, and electric. Modern kilns are more likely to be electric and possibly have firing schedule monitors. The lining and the shelves of the kiln are porous, thick, and can withstand high temperatures that'll last many years. The hot air circles around the kiln and heats up all the items inside. It is important to note that if these pieces are glazed, they must stand on stilts. Stilts are prong bases that allow pottery to stand in a kiln without sticking to any surfaces. The stilt marks should be dremeled off after the firing process because some of the glaze will melt off around the prongs and create sharp edges. Once the whole kiln heats up, the kiln starts to radiate the heat throughout the lining bricks. Full kilns will require a shorter firing process because of the radiation process. These kilns are still used in our local pottery studios today as well as on our campus. About 2,000 years later, circling back around now, the potter's wheel was invented, which revolutionized pottery. It originated from the Mesopotamia area and was able to produce shapes with ease using a manual kick pad. This allowed the ceramists to focus all their energy towards the shape of the design while their foot controlled the speed of the spinning table. Because this invention cut down on hand molding, artists had time to create organic shapes and fluid patterns within their piece. This created more opportunity for cultural influence in pottery. Through shapes and decorative style, diversity in culture can be associated to date pottery artifacts. The potter's wheel broadened the production of pottery before the inventions of new techniques, such as the silicone molds, which contributed to the now mass production of pottery. Mass production expanded creativity since production times got cut tremendously. Artists were now decorating pottery and using tools to create more intricate designs. Through glazes and new painting techniques, artists began making profits off of their new decorative creations. The development of pottery has gone from functional uses that have helped us become socialized and colonized to now being a creative excursion. Although pottery isn't used for what it was originally intended, it has evolved with us. Regions all over the world started to develop pottery at different times based on their exposure to clay and heating elements. As it has evolved with us, it has contributed to our society in many different ways. Here you can see me painting a mini vase with dancers on the side. A drawback of our easy access to pottery and media is unoriginality. Artists work hard to develop new designs and often upload them to places like Pinterest, where people turn to for artistic inspiration. More times than not, we see simplistic designs with unnecessary large price tags. This becomes a problem when artists sell pottery with a replicated design without giving the true artist credit. And no, this is not an original design of mine, thanks Pinterest. Another side effect of mass production is cardboard waste that's contributing to our deforestation. Depending on the size of an item, some pottery will get shipped in separate packages due to the fragility of the pieces. Packaging also includes massive amounts of bubble wrap to secure the piece in its place. While some local studios typically reuse bubble wrap, all the cardboard gets thrown away. Broken pottery is also wasteful, since not only are the cardboard and the plastic typically being thrown away, but so are the broken pieces of pottery. This pottery can be reused by letting it sit in water and break down into wedgeable clay again to be reused for other pieces. The societal benefits to pottery are endless. Clay is an abundant, cheap, malleable, long-lasting, and as I mentioned before, reusable resource. Because clay has always been accessible, we originally used it as a tool to help us cook and store food, which not only gave us energy, but cut down on the time that we would be spending hunting and cooking for our next meal. Without being able to store away food, certain civilizations would not have made it or excelled as much as they did. We can also learn from pottery through the culture it depicts. Pottery around the world has shown the history of countries through markings and inscription that has yet to fade away. For example, the popular blue design chinoiserie originated from China. Another example is the shape and handles of Greek pottery. Greek pottery has a more bulbous base with large godly handles. The arts go heavily underrepresented throughout our society, but through the evolution of pottery, pottery classes have become more accessible in and out of the educational environment. Experience can be gained from this exposure and allow people to have a more creative outlook, which could possibly later turn into a business. Pottery expansion is able to offer more jobs to these artists. Thanks to other technological advancements such as Instagram and TikTok, artists are able to share their originality and include links to their products, making them more accessible. Throughout this video, I have included a time-lapse of myself painting a beaker-styled pottery piece influenced from Iberia. I have also taken you through the steps of prepping my bisque as well as the painting process. First, I have wiped down my piece in order to remove any dust that may have collected on it. This avoids imperfections such as shivering, which is when the glaze pulls away from each other rather than mending together during the firing process. After that, I create a wash, which is a mixture of different glazes with water and is typically used as a background. This helps the longevity of the piece by adding an extra layer of glaze. I then used a tool called a paint writer, which sends the glaze through a fine-tipped tube for precision. Using a long, thin brush, I was able to paint the dancing figures you saw around the piece. Now that that is done, I have to take it to a local kiln so that it can be dipped in clear glazed and then fired. This firing process is going to take around 9 to 12 hours for this kind of pottery. I've also included already fired pieces for reference. Thank you so much.